All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to recap the Mets versus Diamondbacks series, as well as all the latest news and rumors in New York Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live after every single series of games during the regular season. For those of you watching or listening on playback and you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all of that great stuff about this team at any instance during the conversation. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not. We're just going to star them throughout the show. We'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for Frank's instant post-game reactions after every regular season game, which are titled the Mets Frankly Postgame. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 133. And this was a successful series of games going out west to the desert. I'm sure it was hot as all hell. But they were able to flip the script on the D-backs of what they were able to do in New York. The Mets were able to do in Arizona. They take 2 out of 3 from them, even up a season series, which could have stipulations down the line. We don't know, but it was good to see them even it up for any tiebreaker scenarios down the line, because we know that the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to be in that race for the wild card in case the Mets division lead falters or they end up being in second place or third place. So Frank, you're here as well. I did one of your post games. It's probably just because you wanted to hit the snooze button because it was getting pretty late for 2 of these games. But I think, they did what they needed to do. Kind of the headline, what we have continued to say, it wasn't pretty, but they were able to come away with a series victory. And then they move on to a team in Chicago that is doing really, really well, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, I mean, they got all their games with the Arizona Diamondbacks out of the way very early. I mean, by early May, no more Arizona, and it's something that you're going to be you could be thinking about at the end of September going into October. It's like, oh, well, remember those games in April and in May when they faced Arizona and they won the series in Arizona, and how that might be a big impact. So it could not seem like a big thing now, but it might so much later on. So like I said, it was big that they were able to get the win. I was glad that they were able to do it on the road. I feel like that's something that this team kind of needed to show, because they have a 500 home record. A 500 away record so far. They've been really good at home, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are actually 9-10 at home. So that's just a bit of an interesting thing for you. But there were a lot of guys that stepped up in, especially that last game. But overall, the first couple of games, it was looking a little rough offensively. And then this last game, it took a long time for them to get it going, but they did. Juan Soto played hero ball to get it started, and then everyone else followed suit. So it's still kind of that 0 to 100 that we've talked about. It's like, you'll see, it kind of feels like a lot of these series, like you'll see one game where they score like 7 to 8 runs.
Yes.
One game where they score like 1 run, and then another game that's maybe like somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. So it just kind of feels like that's what we've been seeing in these series. And it's just, you want to try to avoid some of these 1-run performances. And there's ways to do that. We've talked about it and we're going to get into it, but we're still seeing a lot of the same struggles and philosophy issues. I mean, one of the reasons why they took them so long to score in the last game was the decision making, especially when they did get men on base. We talk about it all the time, but if there's a fastball over the plate, they're taking it. If it's a breaking ball in the dirt, they're swinging at it. So it's just like a lot of times they're just flat out making the wrong swing decisions, and that's just leading to just just inconsistent results when you have guys on base in particular. So that's something that still needs to get cleaned up. And what bothers me the most is that, like, you're seeing so many different guys have those issues. So it's kind of like you want to like point fingers at, oh, it's this guy is the reason why they're not doing well with men on base. But when you see so many players doing the same mistakes, that's kind of where I wonder, like, is there a philosophy? And if so, I don't agree with whatever is being preached to them as far as how they should be approaching a lot of these situations.
Yeah, I mean, we all know about that discussion, and we know that eventually we're going to have it at the rate that we are going. I just feel like I'm looking at a 3-game series every single time, and I'm looking at a different team every single day. Like that's kind of how it looks like. There's one where it's a pitching battle, then there's one where there's a bullpen blow up from either the Mets or their opponent. Then there's another one where they score the runs in bunches and they just wake up instantly and can't get anything off of the starter. There's different types of games like that. The only thing that we have not seen yet is a complete blowout. We have not seen the Mets get completely blown out at all, which, was something that we were seeing a lot at the beginning of 2024 last year. In 2023, it was happening nearly every single day because the pitching was just collapsing in the third inning. So, I mean, obviously the Mets have been able to keep things tight. The pitching has obviously taken a little bit of a step back this last week, but it hasn't been very noticeable to point it out as something to blame. We've obviously dealt with some injuries in that bullpen as well. There was a lot of things to like in this series, but there also were some things that were not I shouldn't say we're not accustomed to, but we are accustomed to, and we're not looking to see that continue. There's a lot that is going on with this offense, and we will get into one piece to it because I feel like we need to break these things down to try and figure it out, and hopefully to see how they can build that consistency again offensively, because we're still seeing like a lot of yuck, a lot of it. Obviously, there is, plenty of season left. They still can build it. We know that eventually Juan Soto will heat up. We know that he eventually will. Obviously, Francisco Lindor doing what he's done. Pete Alonso has been fantastic. It's all really about the rest of the Mets lineup. I mean, the rest of the Mets lineup has been very in and out. We've had a few good performances from that bottom part of the lineup, but it just doesn't seem to be much consistency. And I think it was very put on notice, with a very smart in pitching, shall we say, Arizona Diamondbacks team, even though they've had some struggles this year with it, a team that we know knows how to pitch. And that was one of the things that carried them to the World Series 2 years ago. What we were seeing a lot from this was, pitchers kind of know it's like that top three. It's great. It's a great top three. It can be feared, but then it's like, okay, we can kind of pitch around them, and one of them's going to put the ball in play. We can get one out here, and then the rest of the lineup, it's like, well, we can attack these guys because they're not doing anything consistently. And I think that's really the main reason as to why, even though we've had contributors from the bottom part of the lineup, it just has not put in enough fear to where it's creating that much damage, whether it is somebody who's batting cleanup behind Pete Alonso, or it's somebody else in the middle part of the lineup that is just not great with runners in scoring position, who we will get into, who seems to have more leeway to have more playing time now with an injury to Jesse Winker. We all know who that is. But again, I think when it comes to the offense right now, it's all really just about these competitive ABs. We saw competitive ABs towards the end of that series finale. The second game, as I was able to cover that game for the post game, nearly nothing against Zach Gallen once again. And then the first game, it was kind of in and out or whatever. It just, I mean, it seems like we're in that certain meme where we're seeing, offense, pitching, and relief pitching or whatever. It's just like those, not like you have two of them and then the other one you don't have. Like it seems like it's switching in and out. And listen, it happens to be a team that has been on the winning side so far, but I think they are going to have to clean some of these things up in order to gain this consistency and continue to win 2 out of 3 at best throughout these entire series. Because again, You're going up against a Cubs team who is red hot. They've been one of the best in baseball so far this year. They're in first place in the National League Central. It has definitely been a good start for the Cubs, even though we've seen them start off hot before, but you're going to be going up against a really good offense as well. So the pitching is definitely going to be tested. So we'll see how that looks out. But so far, I like that they've been able to get the job done. But I do still think that there's a lot more left on the table. Carlos Ramos here in the chat saying it's not sustainable. We're getting away with it now, but sooner or later it won't be sustainable. And that's the thing. It's like there are things that, you know, we've talked about this before of, you know, yes, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't play the right way, you know, you're going to end up beating yourself. And there's been plenty of times where even though the Mets are 10 games over 500, they are 24-14. There's been plenty of times this year where they've beaten themselves. They didn't lose. Like the team didn't beat them. The Mets beat themselves. And, you know, those types of things do tally up. And yes, they're in a good spot right now, 10 games over 500. It's been good in terms of the pitching. The bullpen has held up so far. We've gotten good offensive performances from the top of the lineup, but there still is some things that you got to put together, because I think we all know from, even though that 2024 team wasn't perfect, far from, they had a lot of contributions from different players on that team who were role players who really stepped up when the top of the lineup wasn't doing well. And we haven't seen that yet consistently, and hopefully we eventually start to see that from some role players, even though we did lose a bat this week in Jesse Winker, who is going to be out for a substantial amount of time. If there's anything else you want to add that before we recap this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, you're going up against a Cubs offense that is capable of putting up a lot of runs at any given moment. So, and we know this Mets team can put up runs in some moments. So it's more so a matter of that you just have to hope that if there is a game where the Cubs do get hot and they're, you know, doing their thing, that's not one of those games where the Mets offense falls asleep. Like, you just have to kind of catch everything at the right time when things are clicking. So that's been, like we said, the frustrating part about it is that you never know exactly which Mets offense you're going to get, because that's literally how it goes. They go, like we say, 0-100, or more realistic, it's like 8-0, so, or 8-1, 7-1, where it's like you're kind of a lot of times getting one or the other. So it's more so a matter of that if you hope that when you get the runs is when the Cubs get the runs, and then when they don't, you take it, all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, you know, like we said, getting consistency would help, but with the injuries, with how you have a different lineup all the time, it's hard to get consistency when you're not doing consistent things. So, I mean, that's the other thing too that we'll also get into.
Yeah, and again, it's all really up to the players to perform. And I know that there is really, you know, there has definitely been a little bit of a discourse on Carlos Mendoza about how these games have been managed. And I understand that. There has been quite a few questionable calls from him this past week or two. But again, I really have a tough time criticizing and going full force at him for bullpen decisions or pitching decisions when the offense is just sleepwalking for a majority of these games and, you know, limiting themselves as to what they actually can do with, you know, some approaches that are just not, you know, great and not very, very efficient and can be very, very streaky. And it just gets very aggravating in the sense of what this team is limited to in terms of offensive tools. You know, utilizing what they do have and what they have very little of, such as speed on the base pass and things like that. And it just seems to be overlooked a lot by this team, especially in a game where base running is kind of starting to take a step up once again, where you're stealing a lot of bases and you're seeing a little bit more of the athleticism take into play with, especially these guys defensively, with no shift anymore. So I feel like the adjustments need to be a little bit more on emphasis to the game. That was something that I think that they really struggled with under a guy like Billy Epler. I feel like they definitely, under David Stearns, have established that they want these toolsy guys. They brought in these toolsy guys, but I just want to see them utilize them a little bit more. And it's possible that some of that does go on Mendoza. I think Carlos said here, and those decisions go on Mendoza. The players don't pick the lineup. Exactly. Again, they don't pick the lineup. I don't know if the analytics department picks the lineup or they all collaborative on it. I have no idea.
Because it's always different and like it shouldn't be. So I feel like the analytics would be kind of consistent, but I just feel like it's always something different.
I don't know, because you're facing a different pitcher every single day. So that's probably...
Well, not necessarily, because they played the Cardinals and Diamondbacks very close
true,
together.
like in those rare instances,
and they faced the same pitchers. So, I mean, there are some other factors like injuries, like guys' knees tightening up or hamstrings going out, or, you know, guys getting hurt, and we have to make sure Brett Beatty plays. Like, you know, I feel like there might be like a little bit of both that's happening.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's too inconsistent to be like kind of computer based.
Yeah, I mean, there's also just like a constant, you know, shoving a player down our throats. It just, I really, you know, there's because some guys also,
because the thing too is that, like we've said, is, you know, if I pull up Starling Marte, for example, who we'll talk about later, it says his worst spot is batting fourth. So why would the computer say, let's put this guy in his worst spot? It wouldn't do that. The way it's programmed, it'd be like to put them in their better spots. So that's why I don't think it would be analytics either.
I wish I could tell you. I have no idea. I just feel like, you know, a rhythm is very important for a team, whether it is with advanced data or not. But, you know, I think whether it is used as a reference or used as a Bible, those are two separate things, which I see a lot of people do sometimes. But it's just, I think using it as a resource is probably something, you know, Truro saying no data is saying Marte cleanup. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I think we all can agree that. And we will get into Starling Marte because it's definitely a conversation we have to have, especially with Jesse Winker now on the shelf for an extended period of time. Before we get into this recap, I do want to say hi to some of the people in the chat who came in through here. Carlos coming in here. Carlos Ramos, we already heard from him in the chat as well. Carlos Ortiz, so two different Carlosi. Is that how you say that? I don't even know. Matt coming in here as well. Stoney, haven't seen him in a while. Good to see you here. D in the chat as well. We've also have Milo here, Churro as well, Raul as well. Welcome everybody to the stream. If you have not already, make sure to hit that like button on the stream. It really helps us out. Subscribe to the channel, turn on those post notifications. We're live after every single series, such as this one, which I'm about to recap. What a segue there, huh? Anyways, here, let's run this one down. We start with game one. Griffin Canning will get the start. And after surrendering a leadoff home run to Corbin Carroll in the first inning, he'd settle down from there, going 5+ innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, which would be issued in to start off the 6th inning with 6 Ks on 82 pitches. And while down 1-0 in the 4th, Pete Alonso would launch his 9th home run of the year, a 2-run shot to give the Mets a 2-1 lead. Fast forward to the 7th, Francisco Alvarez would lead off with a single. Tyrone Taylor would stay hot, slapping a double down the left field line. His 2nd hit of the day to set up 2nd and 3rd for Francisco Lindor, who would blast his 7th home run of the year to expand the Mets' lead to 5-1. Huskar Brazaban would come in for Canning, retiring all 6 batters that he faced in the 6th and the 7th. The Mets would give the 8th to Danel Nunez, making his season debut, and it was a disaster. He would walk all 3 batters that he faced, leaving a mess for Reed Garrett to try and pick up. He would allow all 3 of those inherited runners to score. They would be charged to Danel Nunez, of course, on an RBI single by Josh Naylor, and a 2-run long single to straightaway center by Eugenio Suarez to make it a 1-run game, 5-4. But Garrett would limit the damage, striking out Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. to end the 8th. Edwin Diaz would get the 9th and surrender a leadoff base runner on an awkward toss attempt from Pete Alonso on a attempt of a 3-1 put out play. But Francisco Alvarez would throw Alec Thomas out attempting to steal second base after an incredible tag by Francisco Lindor. Diaz would get the next 2 outs via a pop fly out to left and a demon fighting strikeout against Corbin Carroll, who hit a grand slam against him last year to secure the series opener win for the Mets.
And SNY made sure to show it.
Yeah, it was sick. It's all about narratives here. What can I say? Anyways, game 2. David Peterson would get the start. He was not great, but he pushed through 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts on 104 pitches. The Mets would get their only run of the game after Tyrone Taylor would beat out a double play and back-to-back walks to Lindor and Soto. That would lead to a bases-loaded walk to Alonso to give the Mets a 1-0 lead in the third. After scoring 4 unanswered runs in the 4th and 6th against Peterson, that Arizona, that is, Jose Budo would allow another run to come across after walking the leadoff hitter in the 7th inning. He'd come back out for the 8th and toss a scoreless inning. Working around a couple of base runners, the Mets would only get 4 hits in total in this game and go 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. 2 of those hits would come from Francisco Alvarez, and the Mets would threaten in the 9th after a leadoff walk to Juan Soto and a bloop single by Starling Marte, but they'd strand them both against Shelby Miller to end the game and drop game 2 5-1. Game 3, Kodai Senga would make his 7th start of the year, and even though he struggled finding the strike zone, more on Kodai Senga later, he'd walk 5 batters. He still posted 6 scoreless innings, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts on 89 pitches. He gets some big help defensively in the 2nd inning with a runner at first and 1 out. Alec Thomas would double to left center. Tyrone Taylor would throw it into Lindor as the cutoff man. Lindor would gun down Eugenio Suarez at the plate to keep Arizona off the board and keep Senga's outing scoreless. Offensively, the Mets would get started late in the 6th. Juan Soto would blast his 6th home run of the year to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. Luis Angel Acuna would add to it on an RBI single, and Jeff McNeil would drive him in on an RBI triple to make it 3-0 Mets in the 7th. Juan Soto would homer once again for the 2nd time on the day in the 8th to give the Mets a 4-0 lead. Max Krenick would toss a scoreless 7th, working around a few base runners. He'd come back out for the 8th and surrender Arizona's only run, a solo home run to Corbin Carroll, his 2nd of the series, to make it a 4-1 game. Huascar Brazaban would come out to get the final 2 outs in the 8th inning, retiring Josh Naylor and striking out Eugenio Suarez. The Mets would add to their lead in the 9th after a 1-out walk to Azócar. Azócar would steal 2nd, followed by a walk by Tyrone Taylor. Francisco Lindor would drive both of them in with a 2-run double. Juan Soto would add on to that with a sacrifice fly to make it 7-1 Mets. Ryan Stanek would get the 9th and retire the side on 8 pitches to secure the Game 3 victory and the series in Arizona, 7-1. The Mets are now 24-14 on the season, currently, before the Phillies play tonight, holding a 2-game lead over the Phillies for first place in the National League. Now, one big stat I do want to point out here, something that's been the story so far. Frank, I think you're very familiar with this. 5 for 23 with runners in scoring position this entire series combined. Now, there were a little bit lack of opportunities as compared to the Cardinals series, but still not the best situational hitting. Obviously, they had a few sac flies actually in this, so that doesn't really count. Of course, because we're just counting the hits with runners in scoring position, but keeping the line moving has continued to baffle the Mets. Either way, they do get the series victory. Frank, I'll turn it over to you. What you liked, what you disliked in Arizona. We got our revenge, I guess, but still some things to point out here that were not as clean.
Yeah, I mean, outside of David Pearson, the starting pitching was solid. The bullpen, it was interesting. Like, you had some guys who provided some really good eyes, like Huascar Brazaban was really good in this series. But then you have someone like Daniel Nunez making his debut, and he just walks everybody, and then Reed Garrett comes in and lets all those guys score. So that just made it really dicey, and they needed a huge outing from Edwin Diaz, and they got it. because that would have been very frustrating because the Mets were up. I mean, they were up. I'm pretty sure it was like 5-1 at that point once those relievers came in and blew it. So that was just very frustrating because you were feeling pretty good. You're like, oh, 5-1, we're going to ease Nunez back in. Then it's 5-4, and you're like, oh my gosh, if they blow this would just be horrible because then also they would have lost the series, and then you don't have the tiebreaker. So that was a huge, huge save by Edwin Diaz. They really needed him to show up, and he got it done there. So that was one of the good things. But then, like you said, as far as stranding the runners, it's still a lot of that same stuff with hitting the ball on the ground way too much. I mean, so many double plays, so many fielder's choices. I mean, like, it's just a lot of guys on this team that just lack foot speed, and a lot of guys who at one point in their careers had speed, but they don't really utilize it to steal bases. We've talked about it before. We want to see Lindor run more. Nimmo doesn't run anymore, and he's really not going to run now that his knee is kind of wacky, so who knows how that's going to go. Marte, we know he's compromised. Acuna's been good, though. Acuna's been swiping back, so we like that. And then Taylor, when he gets on, maybe send him a little more, too, and see if we could snag some bases there, because the ground balls are another of these things that's killing rallies. It's like the two worst things that you can do with men on base is either hit the ball on the ground or strike out. And those are the two things that they've been doing a ton. And like we said, that at bat with Marte in game 2, it was your headline for your post game. But, why is the DH just looking at fastballs just like strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, goodbye with men on? Like, it's like, what are we looking for? And this is like simple hitting. I mean, this is kind of like hitting a 101 that they've been saying on the broadcast for years and years and years. If you're a hitter, you're in a 2-strike count, you should be sitting fastball. I mean, you should be sitting fastball, and then you react to the off-speed pitch, because if you're not looking fastball, it's going to go right by you. So if you're in a 2-strike count and you're waiting for fastball, how do you take it looking? That's what I don't get, is that you should always be ready for fastball. And like we say, protect the plate, swing anything close, 2 strikes, and they're just watching it. And it's all these guys. We've seen Marte do it. I mean, we've seen Nimmo do it. We've seen Winker do it. We've seen Lindor do it. Like, pretty much everybody on this team has done it. So that has just been very frustrating. You see this happening over and over. So they just keep doing the bad things that you should not be doing with men on base. And that just continues to be very frustrating. And I will say that, the whole Nimmo situation with his knee, that really drove me crazy, to be honest with you, because we've talked about this before, but it was clear something was going on. I mean, because the ball is hit into the gap. He's like falling down. They're trying to pick it up. And then Tyrone Taylor in center field is immediately waving Mendoza and the trainer to come check out Nimmo. And he stays in the game. And of course the ball finds him. Like, the ball's being hit into left field, and you see him just not looking great. Running the bases, not looking great. And it's like, it's clear that there is some sort of discomfort. There's some sort of injury here. But once again, because the player said, no, I want to play through it, Mendoza keeps him in. And it's like, I don't want to see, because everyone wants to be a tough guy, that they risk further injury, further damage. So, I mean, you don't want to see, like, if you could just rest Nimmo for a few days or a week compared to something actually.
I was very surprised to even see him in the lineup the next day. I'm not gonna lie.
He DH'd, I'm pretty sure, no?
Yeah, but I was surprised
but that goes to tell you that if he DH'd the following day, he should not have been in the outfield the day he was hurt. So it's kind of like,
he stretched into that double. I think he was kind of limping a little bit.
He was not 100%. I mean, there was no doubt about it. So, I mean, it's still just like Mendoza not taking charge and being like, no, you clearly are not right. Let me take you out of the game and make sure that we get you fully healthy and ready to go and don't risk further injury. And he just lets the players decide whatever they want. I mean, we saw before with David Peterson early in the season when he had that whole nausea, blurred vision, all this other stuff. Yeah. So of course,
I thought he was dead. I thought he actually got shot.
Yeah, so Mendoza let pitch to that because David Peterson said, no, I want to pitch. I want to pitch to Mendoza. Okay, you guys get to do whatever you want. So, I don't want to see that be a thing where, like, someone plays through something they shouldn't, and then, you have something worse happen. So we'll see kind of how that goes, like, if Nimmo is back in the outfield. But you know what? If they want to keep him at DH, I'm not going to argue it because, like we've talked about, especially with Winker out now, you're just not getting anything from the DH position. And putting Beatty at third and moving Vientos to DH, That doesn't help either because let me tell you, Brett Beatty was peak Brett Beatty, prime Brett Beatty in his first game
It's the
back.
same Brett
I
Beatty.
mean,
Yeah.
ground ball, ground ball, ground ball, and ground ball. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? Like, listen, if there were snakes in Arizona because the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're gone now. Brett took them all out with the baseballs he was hitting on the ground. So, I mean, that was just like, what were you working on in the minors? Because this is still the same guy.
Are we really
we've
surprised, though?
We've seen this crap for how many years now? I mean, how many years are we just going to see the same thing over and over with the
That's what
constant
he
ground
is.
balls?
That's it.
But,
That's just what he is.
But it's just so frustrating that it's like, you have guys go out and Rosie makes a great point. It's like Beatty makes the lineup weaker. So it's like, okay, we have Winker go down. Who are we going to call up to help out our offense? Oh, let's call up Brett Beatty. Like, that's all we got. Like, that is the state of the depth. That is the state of AAA for the Mets offensively as far as being ready for the major leagues. That's all we got, Brett Beatty. Like, that's our solution, and like it doesn't help. It makes the lineup worse. So it just shows that they really do not have major league ready hitters to go. So that's just also very, very aggravating. And even like Azokar's been better than I expected, but he's still not a good hitter. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of the guys that we have here that are like bench players from AAA are just not very good hitters. Meanwhile, like we've talked about with some of the pitchers, we've seen a lot of these guys come up and step up and actually be solid. But the hitting, we just cannot do it. So I'm just curious to see how they're going to go about this with Beatty. Like, he's going to get some starts because, like you said, everyone has to start, everyone has to play. But, man, is it frustrating to still see this guy out here because he is just... He's brutal. I mean, he really is brutal. And you know what? Him and McNeil in the same lineup, yikes. But that's kind of the situation they're in now with everything that's going on. So, they mentioned it earlier, like, how else do you get Acuna in the lineup? Like that's something, that they have got to do.
Yeah.
So how they're going to do it, we'll see. But they got to find some ways to get in because his speed is just, and actually using his speed by stealing bases is such a different element than a lot of these other hitters that are on here that don't move and are station to station and hitting into double plays. Like it feels more and more like you need someone like Acuna out there every day to fit with, like I talk about a lot of fit. Acuna fits with the rest of these guys. Some of these other ones do not fit together.
No, I think we all know, who plays in the margins and who doesn't at this current moment of who is on this team. Acuna, we don't know what his bat is going to be at the major leagues long term. We have no idea. But I don't need him to set the world on fire because I know he can provide other things.
I mean, between last year, and this year, like he's still at least league average at minimum. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine. The thing is, I don't need him to.
He needs to be. All he needs to do is be a role player because, like we talked about, you're built on your top three, and then you're hoping that Vientos and Nimmo are very nice pieces, like to that middle lower half, and then you just have Acuna as like another solid piece to fit around them, gives you speed, gives you defense, and at least league average offense. That's perfect. That is totally fine.
Yeah, and that's fine. And then again, he's making league minimum. So if he doesn't produce, he's gone. It's fine. As for the other second baseman on this team, he has to hit in order to be a contributor, which he got his RBI triple yesterday. As he woohoo, but like again, that's the only tool that he's providing right now. That's it. And I think the thing is that it all really just happens to be, what can you write in for these guys? I know I can write in home runs like this for Alonso and Soto. I can write in possibly a 30-30 from Francisco Lindor. I know I can write that in. But the rest of these guys, it's just like, what are they really established as in these terms of things? Like, I mean, there's a specialty for some of these guys where most of them, they have to hit in order to be a contributor. Now, there's guys like Francisco Alvarez, whose bat I'm not really sold on. But again, defensively, he has made an impact behind there. There's a guy like Mark Vientos, who we know needs to hit in order to be a contributor. He has not been hitting to the level that we saw last year or anywhere close. He's definitely struggled to start off the year. and it's definitely he's definitely looking like he's making a step forward, but he's definitely in need of some adjustment. But it's definitely still been seen as more of a 0 than a 100 for Vientos. Nimmo at this point, he needs to hit. He hasn't been hitting. Tyrone Taylor, he doesn't have to hit to be a contributor on this team. We know that. There's tools, there's frontline guys, there's role players. You know, what they have to do brings their best value. And if they're not doing it, it's whatever. Same thing goes for somebody like Brett Beatty. He needs to hit. He hasn't hit at the major league level. And I've accepted this is Brett Beatty. I'm done complaining about it at this point. I'm done establishing it. He sucks. He sucks. He's not good. He's not a good player. And that's where AAA is where he belongs. That's where he belongs. So eventually they will send him back down to AAA. And I'm sure he's going to, tear the cover off the barrel again down there. Because that's what 4A players do. He's too good for AAA. He's not good enough for the major leagues. Azokar doesn't have to hit to be great because we know that he has some solid defense. He can, run the bases. He's got on base at a decent clip so far in the
333 on
in the opportunities he's got 3 for 3. Yeah. So again, it's whatever. Same thing goes. I mean, Luis Torrens, we all know how he contributes behind the plate. He's a difference maker with his arm. I mean, all of these guys in this lineup, it's all really just about, do they need to hit to stay? And they have a lot of guys who it's like, they need to hit to stay. And that's the thing. It's like they need to add in the toolsy part of this lineup to create more offense for the big guys up top, because the big guys up top are the only guys who are going to give you that impact. And, again, from the bottom part of the lineup, they need those guys with those tools to help you out. And I just feel like it's not being utilized in that way as to where this team can maximize its offense to stealing bases or going first to third or all these types of things that the bottom of the lineup can supply with the big guys up top. And also another thing, a guy up top who is a big hitter in Francisco Lindor. We have not seen him steal bases as much either. I think it's more of just the fact that he doesn't want to run himself out of the inning with Soto behind him. But the problem is,
the problem is 60% of the time, Soto's running him out of the
when
inning.
Soto's pounding the ball into the ground, it's a lot less productive than just getting caught stealing. So I don't know if Francisco Lindor is just not getting the best jumps on some of these pitchers, but I'd like to see him start to steal bases because we know he's capable of that 30-30 type of...
He's a back-to-back 30 stolen base kind of guy. So and the rules are even more easier to do that. So there's no excuse. And like his legs are fine. Yeah. So and he's so far. I mean, he's 3 for 4 in the bases that he's tried to steal. So I mean, he's been fine there. But I mean, Rosie makes a good point, like talking about Vientos and the power, because you're saying like, you know what, these guys have to hit in order to stay in the lineup. But somebody like Vientos, somebody like Alvarez, because they don't have speed, they need to when they do hit, they need to hit for power. So Eric Chavez turning Alvarez into a singles hitter, it doesn't help the collective group when everyone else is station to station. It's like if you have guys who are power hitters, they're not supposed to, because like a singles hitter is fine when they're a guy that can steal a base. They can go first to third and things like that. Okay, fine. That could be a singles hitter. But when a guy is a massive tank, he should not be a singles hitter. He should be a power hitter. So the fact that, Vientos and Alvarez, they just kind of want to keep going opposite field, like it's not what made them high prospects. It's not what their best tools were. So, this coach is trying to mold them a way of his own, not letting these players do what they're supposed to do best. And again, fit with the rest of the ball club. So that's the other thing that's frustrating me too, is that like Alvarez is hitting over 300, but I don't really like it. I want to see him hit home runs. I just don't think it's very, because what happens with how much these guys struggle with men on base, Alvarez getting on base does nothing because they're just going to strand him. So it's like he needs to hit it over the fence where no one else can strand him and he can just drive himself in, because that's how this offense is set up right now.
Yeah. And again, there is, guys who can help bring in the margins there, but they need to utilize them the right way. The same thing goes for these power hitters. I mean, Francisco Alvarez. We have so many Franciscos. No, we have two. Francisco Alvarez. I mean, we're hearing things of just like in batting practice, he doesn't even think about pulling the ball. He doesn't even think about that. He's going to the opposite field. He's hitting for contact. Like, this is a 70 to 75 grade power prospect that you're talking about. And I'm looking at this guy being, what is it? Who's that catcher who had no power? What's his name? Who is like this contact hitting catcher that used to be in, like, it was like late 2010s. What the hell was his name? May have been.
Because he was more like a speed guy, but I mean, what they did was they
Mark
turned
Ellis.
Johnny
Is that who I'm
Bench
thinking
into,
of? I think Mark Ellis.
He was an infielder. He was a middle infielder.
I thought he was a catcher at one point.
No,
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. Yadier Molina. Can we just go the lazy way? I don't know.
Okay.
but
still,
it's just.
but the thing is that, like,
but he had power when it mattered, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. Alvarez was a guy that, like, with the home runs in the rookie season, they talked about, this is the second most since Johnny Bench. So it's like, instead of the Johnny Bench archetype, we just went to, like you said, just a slap hitting catcher.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah.
Way to maximize. Sick. And the thing is, you're seeing exit velocity from him. You're seeing an average exit velocity of 93.1. Like, he's hitting the ball hard. The tools are there. But we're constantly seeing him look at right field. Like, and I'm sure that he has that natural power to go to right field. But it's like
his one home run is literally at the foul line on right field. Yeah. So that's just.
It seems like he's getting plenty of, again, it's just like leaving damage on the table. Like, even if he does make contact with it, I feel like he could have, crushed a certain pitch with the light tower power, like we like to say, with him. It's just, I don't know. I don't like how it's designed. It's basically just utilizing tools to maximize the offense. It has nothing to do with what their stat line is or what their individual stat line is. I feel like they're just not, like, playing into the strengths of these hitters. And it's just, I feel like it's just constantly hurting this team as to where it's all about, they have all these opportunities. The main reason as to why they don't take advantage of these opportunities is because the utilization of these hitters, like, the approach is so backwards. That's just. We will get into the hitting coaches eventually, of how I don't want to get into, that conversation, because it's just going to be a deep, prolonged conversation that nobody is going to want to discuss at this current moment. Or, I feel like that could be an entire episode of our show talking about Eric Chavez and Eric Barnes and the hitting development with the Mets, which is just so. I don't know if I want to call it outdated, but it's just so, like, tone deaf. But again, it's one of those situations where I'm trying to gloss over it. I'm trying to be patient. I'm trying to see how these guys develop, because we already know that a guy like Francisco Alvarez, he's young, but also we're seeing the veteran hitters go into these tendencies too. And it has not been great. It just has not been great. It hasn't been consistent. And the only thing that has been consistent have been these hitting coaches. So I don't know what else they need to change at some point. There's things that need to change with the personnel, but also the leadership as well. Because I don't want this type of impression on some of the young hitters. I mean, we know that there is a young hitter, a young player who we know can also give you some tools too, in Drew Gilbert, who I want to see pop up. He's like the next. You talked about the lack of AAA depth. He's probably the next one. He's the next one, and I've been waiting to talk about him. But it is a little too early. He's still getting ramped up. He's been hitting well, though, in AAA. I did want to do a little bit of a prospect spotlight on him.
But imagine, you see Gilbert hitting these home runs, and Eric Chavez is like, oh, no, go the other way. Like, I swear to you, if they do it to Drew Gilbert, I'd be like, what are we doing? Are you going to do that to Clifford, too, when he's ready? Like, I mean, this is the problem, is that even the guys that did have power as prospects, you want to turn them into opposite fielders. And Pete is having, like, a phenomenal season, but like we said, he's not the home run hitter that he was. So, I mean, he's been able to make it work, and we'll see if it sustains. But, like, in our, like, wildest dreams, we never had Pete as, like, a 340 hitter. So that's the other thing that's interesting to me, too.
Yeah.
Even Soto, a couple of his home runs have been.
And if he wants to win MVP, he's going to have to hit some homers. Yeah, I mean Gilbert right now slashing 868, and this is a AAA environment with new baseballs, by the way. He's not striking out that much. I mean, he's had a really good start to AAA. So hopefully, I mean, and with the outfield situation right now of how banged up it is, he will eventually be in the conversation. And I'm getting really close to saying, all right, let's give this kid a shot. But again, I do want to talk about some more positive stuff. First of all, I do want to just point out the pitching. First off, Danel Nunez, disaster. I don't know what the hell that was, but that needs to be cleaned up completely. If he's going to continue to pitch like that and continue to lose the strike zone like that, send him back down to AAA, because that was and I don't usually overreact to stuff like that, but when you just can't get the ball over the plate like that, especially from somebody like Nunez, who was notorious for just jamming the strike zone and attacking hitters the way that he did last year, that is very, very concerning. And hopefully it was just a one-time thing. Hopefully. But God, that was a nightmare. That was not a good performance, especially from somebody that we've been waiting to come back since he got hurt in before the second half started. We were waiting to see him come back and be a piece to this bullpen. And for the first impression of 2025, to him just walking three hitters in a row and not even having competitive pitches, that was not fun. Let's just say that. We know the stuff is there, but that was a very alarming welcome home for Danel Nunez. Did not enjoy that at all.
No, 100%. I mean, like you said, a guy that's known for not walking, to see him walking batters, there was something up. And I'm curious to see how his next outing goes, because like you said, if you see that again, we got some issues and we really need to figure out what we're doing. So they have to. I think they have to be careful too, because it's you don't know if the guy you clearly don't know if he's ready. So I don't want to put him in a big spot against the Cubs and he just starts walking everyone. That would just be a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the stuff is still there, but it's just he just couldn't get it over the plate. So I don't know if that was an issue in AAA. I wasn't looking at him closely with that. But I don't know. That was kind of concerning. But speaking of not concerning, I want to talk about someone who has absolutely showed out so far this season, and that being Kodai Senga. Now, Senga last year, after coming off of the Rookie of the Year runner-up in 2023, last year, we know, complete lost season, heartbreaking season, seeing him come back from that major shoulder issue that he had at the beginning from spring training, coming back, pitching 5 1/3 against the Braves. Everything was going great. And then all of a sudden he goes down with a calf injury. He comes back in the postseason, doesn't really pitch well. He was definitely not himself. He was definitely not in strength. So we now see Kodai Senga back here in full swing. He's back on the mound. And to start the season, it has been fantastic to watch every 5 days with him on the mound, or every 6 days if he's gotten an extra day of rest. But again, it has been a great performance from him. And I do want to do a little bit of a rundown of what we have seen. And after the year that he had last year, it's the revenge of the ghost. He's back, folks. He's back on the mound.
Spooky.
Now, spooky, very spooky, scaring everybody, haunting everyone. Anyways, 1.16 earned run average. I mean, to that meeting the eye has just been nearly spotless. Of course, a little bit of trouble with command in the latest start, but he was still able to get through it like the professional that he is, striking out 23% of batters so far this season, with the strikeouts actually being lower than they were. He's still contact managing well. He's given up 1 home run this year. Plenty of first pitch strikes as well this year. Above average with opponent's exit velocity. Not giving up barrels, which I think he's given up 2 all season so far. Chase rate, it's about the average rate, which kind of what it was, back in his rookie year. He's getting swings and misses. And then, of course, the signature fork ball, which we all know, the ghost fork. Hitters have posted a 200 expected weighted on base average, which is quality of contact, which I actually think it's lower now. This is from before his last start, so I probably can get an update on that. But they have a 43.4% whiff rate against his signature ghost fork. We obviously know he has a 6-pitch mix. He's also dabbled in a curveball a few times, but he has not been able to get the handle of it. Maybe he's just tinkering around with stuff. He added in a sinker, a low 90 sinker, which seems to go along with the little bit more of the breaking pitches kind of separating with the sweeper and cutter. Of course, the forkball, like we just said, his best pitch, his featured pitch. The fastball has not been as lively as it was in 2023, but still has been effective. 16 inches of induced vertical break, VAA hovering around 4. A few rough locations with the fastball to start off his campaign, but he's been a lot better with it. He has reached 98 miles an hour and topped that. Cutter, obviously not his best pitch, but he's able to locate it well against these left-handed hitters. Sweeper, sinker as well, almost 16 inches of run. So it has been a really good campaign for Kodai Senga, obviously. And it's great to have him back there on the mound, as of course we missed him in 2024. Even though the Mets were able to manage their pitching staff from doing well in 2024, they still were missing that front line featured piece in 2024, and that was supposed to be Kodai Senga, and he ended up going down. Now, Frank, I know that you had some concerns about Kodai Senga going into this year and kind of exiting from what we saw in 2024, where he just was not himself in the postseason, which is completely understandable, of course, given his health. He's in his mid-30s, of course. But I think we can both agree, not only is whether it's for people who are big fans of Senga who want to see him win the Cy Young. Personally, I don't care about that. As of right now, from what we're seeing from Kodai Senga, even though I think he's like third in major leagues and second in the major leagues in earned run average, which will probably be the look for the Cy Young as of right now, which kind of how it's been. Right now with Kodai Senga, the main thing is he is healthy. Kodai Senga is on the mound. He is taking the mound every 5, maybe 6 days if he needs that extra day of rest with not multiple days off in between. But either way, it's been great to see. They've slowed it down a little bit with him. They haven't really been pushing it to start off the season. But so far, that has been paying off, and it is great to see him out there on the mound and giving us this type of production on the mound that we know that he's capable of giving us.
When Manaea and Montas went down, they needed someone to really step up. And like we said, when Senga was out last year, Manaea had stepped up as the ace. But now it's kind of the reverse. Since Manaea's out, Senga stepped up. So I think that hopefully in some scenario, we can get both back. And then you have like a nice 1-2 punch up top. And then
why not both?
If any, yeah, why not both? And then if any other young arms show up along the way, some fast risers might show up along the way, then you might really be cooking with something. But for Senga, I mean, to see him really be able to utilize this wide arsenal that you have on here, I mean, he throws a ton of different pitches, and he's able to complement them well with one another. The forkball has been very spooky, been getting guys chasing, so that's the big key to him. If he's getting those strikeouts, it makes things a lot easier. Someone had mentioned, D right here, like if Senga keeps putting guys on, it's going to burn him. The whip's not as great as the ERA. The FIP is definitely not as great as the ERA. I mean, he's had some good defense behind him, but also some bad defense. That's just kind of the case with the Mets. But more so, the walks in his last start was very interesting. I mean, that was a little uncharacteristic how many walks that he put on. But once he got in the groove, he was rolling. And that was kind of the same thing that we saw in his rookie year too, is that like once Senga, he's one of these pitchers that if he gets in a rhythm and he's on a roll, look out. I mean, because he could put together a really nice start. And that's what he was able to do. And he's been able to do that a lot. And even the one start that he had, it wasn't all that great. But he had that stomach thing that Nimmo had, the stomach bug that was going around the clubhouse that he still pitched through. So if they have to take it slow, if they have to eventually have a 6-day rotation, if that means getting him through the season healthy, and then when you are in the postseason that he's actually going to be good, that's what you have to do. I mean, the Dodgers, they've had a similar circumstance where they've had to do the 6-man rotation for their 2 Japanese pitchers. But guess who's number 1 in the ERA in the league? Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So it's like, you know what? Sometimes you have to do the 6-day thing, but if it gets the most out of your pitchers that you made big investments in, more so that the Dodgers did with Yamamoto's contract that the Mets offered, but you know what? He took the Dodgers money. They gave good money to Senga, not huge, but overall still pretty good. You want to make the most out of those investments. So if that means that you got to do the 6-man rotation, okay. But like we said, so far the rotation has been pretty solid. So if Montas and Manaea come back and they do what they're supposed to do, you can have a 6-man rotation with the personnel that you have. As long as McGill doesn't become like, just out of nowhere is not good anymore. Pearson still does his thing. Canning, he's been solid. So it's like, you have other arms that are contributing for you. So this team has the group that if they needed a 6-man, they could do it. They could do it consistently. And I think it's really a solid idea because also, since you're bringing in 2 pitchers off of injury, I feel like if you want to keep those guys healthy too and keep them back, it also makes it do a 6-man rotation for their sake. So I feel like that's something that is going to be key. And, Senga is the one that unlocks it all. We know how important it is to have an ace, and right now he's pitching like an ace. So that's been the key here, not giving up super hard contact. That's also a big thing. So if we could just limit the traffic a little more, then he's going to be, really, really solid.
Yeah, it is one thing that I think, it comes to show that I think we all kind of forgot how good Kodai Senga really is. Obviously, with the last impression we had last year, and it was some really rough outings for him. He just did not look like himself, and he looked like a guy that hasn't pitched all year. But when it comes to, him just doing what he is doing as of right now, I still think that there is a lot left to be desired, obviously, with the strikeout numbers down a little bit. And it seems like he's throwing some really good pitches that can get you some swings and misses. I mean, this is obviously more tongue-in-cheek here, or just kind of just a face value type of thing, if you want to say that. Fastball, these are expected whiff numbers, obviously. He's 111 at that with his fastball, which has not been the best of locations, so obviously he still has a decent enough shape as to if he were to locate it properly, he would get a good amount of whiffs. The cutter, which is not a best pitch, but he knows how to locate it. He's getting 107 on that. The sweeper as well, he has a 114. He doesn't use it as much, so it's probably not even going to be something that he gets a lot of those swings and misses on. The forkball, we already know that's the main put away pitch, of course. So there's definitely some more swing and miss potential as to he doesn't have to contact manage the way that he has been. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of swings and misses, especially with the way that he's been locating and also limiting some hard contact and not just, as a hopefully not becoming a little bit more of a ground ball pitcher and not a fly ball pitcher, which is good for him to go deeper into games, obviously. And I think it's really something to really enjoy seeing a professional pitcher like this. Like, this is a professional. I don't think we really talk about how, a guy who just came from another country. What was it, 3 years ago? Different baseballs, different mound, different environment there. And he's had trouble with the strike zone. Like, he's had trouble, throwing strikes. He's had a few blowups here and there, but you're seeing 2 to 3 run ball pretty much every single night from this guy, because from the stretch, this guy dials in. And that's the thing. He's just so professional. He carries himself so well. Obviously, we know Japan has developed a lot of pitchers that, do very well from the stretch. They're very good athletes as well. They have a really good pitch ability, something that something that Yoshinobu Yamamoto also has. So again, when it comes to Senga and Yamamoto, I mean, if they're going to battle it out for the Cy Young, that'd be awesome. That'd be great to see. If we can get like a matchup with them when we play the Dodgers, that would be, must see stuff right there. But again, it's something that I think eventually will get cleaned up, because I know that these adjustments that he makes, he's a very big perfectionist in that way. I think, of course, the walk rate right now is kind of skewered from those 5 walks that he had yesterday. And I said this on Twitter yesterday. I said, I don't think I've seen Kodai Senga lose the strike zone like that, like since like early May of 2023, when he was like adjusting to the major leagues. So it was definitely uncharacteristic, but still somehow he was able to get out of it, able to compose himself, get the timely ground balls, get the timely contact that he needed to go through 6 innings, which again, that's the thing about him, is that, these are the types of moments, pitching from the stretch the way that he does, that are definitely going to, benefit a team. I don't know, again, and this is another detail that I don't think I really pay attention to as much. I don't know if you have any data on this, but do guys run on him well? I don't think they do, because I know that he's not quick to the plate. Like he doesn't have a large extension, obviously. Like he kind of, cocks things back a little bit. But I think he holds runners fairly well, like decently, I guess.
Well,
like,
I mean, considering all the traffic he had on the bases, there would be more stolen bases against him, but they haven't. And, some of that is Torrens for sure. But,
of course.
I mean, Alvarez, he's been all right too. So, he threw out a runner as well in one of the games. So I feel like the Mets in general have gotten much better at controlling the run game. I mean, we saw the stark differences of the beginning of last season compared to this season. They've just been way better as a team as far as how they approach that, and have improved. So I don't think that's kind of been a thing that's like a massive issue for Senga, because if it was, I feel like it would be talked about more. We would notice it more. So I feel like he's been fine. I don't think it's been something that's been like a major issue for him. And it all depends like on the matchups. So it's like there's certain teams where if you walk 5 guys, they're not going to make you pay with a bunch of stolen bases. But if you do it to the Brewers, for example, that's a team that's going to be much more aggressive and running a lot more. So there's a lot of factors that go into something like that. And who's catching. So like if he has Torrens with him, it's going to help him. So there's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah. I'm seeing he's given up 1 stolen base this year. And there was a caught stealing last year. I don't know. It doesn't seem like I'm not seeing it on Fangraphs of anything that he has had
I could probably dig into it and find it, but I feel like he's been fine. I don't really think the Mets don't have like their Adam Ottavino so much anymore. The guy that they have that struggles the most, and it's not even a starting pitcher, it's Diaz. We know that. We're well aware. Yeah. But other than that, the rotation has been very good with it. We know that McGill, Peterson, like these guys have nice pickoff moves that they're able to, get some runners guessing too. So, there's a lot of things you could do to control the run game. And, they've, like I said, done so much better of a job at that happening.
Yeah. And all really took was getting rid of Omar Narvaez. Who would have thought? I don't, to be honest, I mean, he used to be really, really good at it. And then all of a sudden he just put on the Mets uniform and turned into a slob. I don't know. But hey, I mean, either way, I just think that there's a lot of components that go on to the mound of
so
the makeup
Carson, how about this?
of a front line.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, but
go ahead.
The 1 stolen base that Senga gave up this year was with Hayden Senger catching.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind.
And he's gone, so we got rid of the issue.
Excuse. But Torrens has nailed 3 runners with Senga on the mound, and Alvarez has thrown out 1. So,
what else is new?
Yeah, like that helps too.
Yeah. It's I think it's again it's all just really like I was saying, like it's the makeup that makes these frontline pitchers, and the way that he does prepare. Maybe it is a little frustrating in some way where you're like, okay, he's slowing down, like he has to slow this thing down here, like maybe he can't go a certain amount of innings, but it hasn't really been anything necessary where. Well, it's the middle of May, right? I mean, it's the second week of May. If he needs to only go 5 innings, that's fine. Like if we're having the same discussion in like August, like that, then we're going to be like, okay, Senga, we're going to have to move forward here. We're going to have to move forward. But again, this is, what did we say? It was like 38.2. What is it? 38.2.
He pitched 7 against the Athletics on April 13th. So like he was able to get that done.
Yeah.
He only threw 79 pitches and he only had 4 strikeouts, so he was pitching more to contact. But you look at some of his other starts, he went 6 in this one against Arizona. He went 6 against the Nationals. So a lot of it is also like pitch count, effectiveness. So it's not so much like the up downs. I think they're more so just kind of keeping him on a bit of a limit there. And I guess at Washington though, he did throw 96 pitches, so that's the most so far this season. Other than that, he's been like 87, 89. Like 90 is kind of like their cutoff, it seems, with him. But that one time against Washington, he did have the 96 pitches.
Yeah, I think it's all really just about the workload as of right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure the average starting pitcher goes, what is it, 5? It's like 5.13
nowadays.
innings.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that before.
And he's 5.52 right now.
So that's
that's
actually,
so that's
nowadays.
That's pretty much
good.
that's up. So again, I think it's all about like taking it slow. Fine, if you want to do it, it's okay. They've had the rotation to back up the next day of making up those innings as well, or giving you a decent amount of innings and good enough performances to keep them in the game. So,
and having multiple long relievers helps that too. Like having a Kranick that goes multiple innings, have a Brazaban that goes multiple innings. That's how you can get away with some of the starters only giving you 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
which
you
they
also
didn't have before.
other
they
guys.
They did not have multiple long relievers in the past. So
that's the deepness. And that's the deepness as well. If you start to lose effectiveness of these long relief guys, we know that Griffin Canning probably could move to the bullpen once you get your 2 starters out, because someone's going to have to come out of that rotation. I don't know if they want to try that with McGill again.
Another guy to consider is Peterson, because they showed it on the broadcast and happened to him again. Like first 3 innings, he's good. 4-5 is a mess, and if somehow he gets through that, 6 and up is fine. But if he could only really give you realistically 3 innings anyway at like super solid,
you can consider with anyone. Yeah.
Also with Minter and Young probably out for the season.
True.
Not the worst idea too to now have a lefty inserted, and he's not your traditional guy, but he could end up doing multiple things for you. Be your lefty in the pen, be a guy that goes multiple innings. Like he could actually provide a few things, because if he's
you can pitch to lefties and righties pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So which is fine with the new rules, but it's like the way he's kind of fallen apart 4th, 5th inning a lot of the times. You could just avoid that by putting him in the pen. And that's if Canning is still going well, if McGill is still going well. But like we say, every time we have this conversation, a lot of stuff figures itself out. Someone else gets hurt, someone else starts to stink, and you're like, oh, well, this guy needs to come out of the rotation once everyone's healthy because he's not good anymore. Yeah. So it's something that we'll have a much better idea of once we get there, but it's something that right now is one of the things I would be considering.
Yeah, I think, listen, Carlos is disagreeing with you, saying, no, Frank Peterson cannot come out of the rotation. No way, in my opinion. Listen, one thing I will say, the ball's put in play against Peterson this year. There's a lot more shitty result. I think he has one of the highest batting average on balls in play, I think, out of like any pitcher right now.
And that's with the great defense behind him.
And that is with the phenomenal defense where guys catch everything between their ass cheeks. It's
David Peterson.
The worst ERA in the rotation? Yeah. I thought it was Peterson. Tidwell.
Well, he's not actually in the rotation anymore. He gone, so it's not him.
He gone. Yep, we already declared his career over. Anyways, let's see. I believe I'm correct with that. Hold on. He is ninth.
Batting average?
The ninth highest batting average in balls in play, which makes sense if you're a contact manager. You're going to get those base hits against you. That's one of the Marcus Stroman effect or whatever. If you pitch to contact, now it's just Marcus Stroman pitching to serving up bombs. But again, we'll see. If results man can continue to get results and results all over the place. But again, they have plenty of options here. I mean, could it be Blackburn who just gets added to the bullpen if he's alive? And to figure out if he is alive, I will move it over to Frank for the injury report for what has been going on, because I believe Blackburn is on that list. Yes, he is. Frank,
He's
plenty
like
to talk
regular.
about here.
He's a reoccurring guest on the injury report, man. Good
Yes,
lord.
he is becoming a primary character.
Yeah, he's in like the Mets injury report Hall of Fame with how many times he's on here. So I can't wait to just talk about him again. So
at least we hear more about him than Jed Lowry. At least
that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Jed Lowry just flat disappeared.
Jed Lowry was probably dead for 2 years in a coma. Who even knew how long he was there? But anyways, speaking of it, injury report. Frank, stage is yours. Plenty to get into here.
All right, so we're going to start off with A.J. Minter. Mets reliever officially underwent season-ending surgery on his torn left lat next Monday after getting multiple professional opinions. The 33-year-old southpaw began 2025 recovering from surgery on a torn labrum in his left hip that he underwent last August. There is no timetable for Minter's return in 2026. Sean Manaea, Mets starting pitcher, is still currently limited to just flat ground work as he continues to increase his throwing intensity. The 33-year-old left-hander threw from 105 feet on Tuesday and still ways away from beginning a potential rehab assignment. Manaea is currently on the 15-day injured list due to a right oblique strain he experienced in the first week of camp. Paul Blackburn, Mets right-handed pitcher, continued his rehab assignment for AAA Syracuse on Tuesday night. He tossed 54 pitches across 3 2/3 innings, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. The 31-year-old is expected to be stretched out to 70 pitches before rejoining the big league club. Blackburn is currently on the 15-day injured list due to right knee inflammation that he suffered right before opening day. Ronnie Mauricio, Mets prospect, will continue his rehab assignment for AA Binghamton on Friday. The 24-year-old infielder has logged innings at second base, shortstop, and third base for Low A Port St. Lucie across 5 games over the past week. Mauricio's long-awaited return is still unclear as he continues to recover from torn ACL surgery he underwent his right knee back in December of 2023. Jeff McNeil, Mets second baseman, left Wednesday afternoon's game in the 7th inning due to a cramp in his left hamstring that he experienced while running the bases on the triple that he hit. During a pitching change, McNeil was pinch ran for after gesturing to the dugout. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that McNeil is fine and there is no further concern. Brandon Nimmo, Mets outfielder, tweaked his left knee during the 4th inning of Tuesday's game, but stayed in left field for the rest of the night. The 32-year-old returned to the Mets starting lineup the next day at designated hitter and stated before yesterday's game that he, quote, dodged a bullet after speculation of a hyperextended knee injury. So definitely a lot going on here. That was a lot of injuries, a lot of guys with knees and hamstrings and lats, just, everyone's got something going on. But like they said, they were able to avoid a couple of injured list things, but some guys not so much, as Minter's out for the year, but some of the other guys, they were able to avoid further injury.
Yeah. As for some other stuff, I think we did get some news about Jesse Winker. Like we said, he's going to be out for a extended period of time with a oblique strain. He is going to miss about 6 to 8 weeks, so he's going to be out for quite a bit. And that kind of lines us up to the next topic that we're going to get into here, and that being the DH position, which, again, we knew we were going to have this conversation eventually during the regular season. The fact that we're having it this early pretty much speaks volumes of what we have been getting, but with Winker out for an extended period of time, we're kind of in this situation where Starling Marte is like the number one guy that they're putting at DH as compared to somebody like, whether it is Vientos or Nimmo or putting an extra fielder out there for the defense. Right now, you are still working with somebody named Starling Marte who, I don't know how to say it, so I'll let the graphic describe it. This was not me. I didn't do anything. It has nothing to do with me. A rotting liability. That's what I would call somebody like Starling Marte. He has had 75 plate appearances so far. It seems like he has had about 700 because it seems like we are just constantly getting him shoved down our throats every single night with him as a DH. With 75 of those plate appearances, 65 of them have been with him starting at DH. 56 of those starting plate, the top 56 of those plate appearances have been in the top 5 of the lineup. You are seeing some of the underlying numbers. Exit velocity, way down. Hard hit rate, way down. Not so great in the quality of contact department. Making a decent amount of contact, but chasing plenty like he usually does. Not getting the barrel. But it really has nothing to do with the rough stretch that he is having. It's really not a rough stretch. It's really just been this for the last 3 seasons now, since the beginning of 2023. He has slashed 252, 312, 340, 353 with an 89 weighted runs created plus, which is 11% below league average in production across just 786 plate appearances since the beginning of 2023, when he underwent double groin surgery after the 2022 season. He has played 180 games ever since. He has played 180 games across 2023 to 2024. And of course, the main reason as to why he's here at this point, he is owed $20.75 million this season in the final year of a 4-year contract that he signed with the Mets, worth $78 million guaranteed. We've talked about Starling Marte many, many times before. We've talked about the back end of this contract being a nightmare because of the age, because of the injury concerns. He's had plenty of injury concerns at this current moment with something like with double groin surgery, plenty of lower body injuries. But at this point, it seems like something that's just being shoved down our throats at a rate of what we were getting with Robinson Cano. And I hate going into that territory, but it's getting really bad. A 79 weighted runs created plus so far. He's had 2 home runs, 4 extra base hits. He's had a few hits here and then, but the fact that we are seeing this guy bat cleanup at age 36 as a DH that has limited power, not the best contact rates, can't really do anything. You're paying $20 million for this guy. Frank, we've had this discussion so many times, but we are at this point where we're reaching the end of the road here. And if we're not, we're going to have a big problem, because with Winker out, we're now going to see Starling Marte probably take a lot more of the swings at DH, or lack thereof swings. Because from what we saw with the bases loaded a few days ago, staring at 3 pitches down in the strike zone, this is a joke. This is a complete joke. I mean, let's do a comparison first before I spring it over to you. Mm-hmm. I've said this before, but let's do it again. Just for a positional comparison. The Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani. The Braves have Marcell Ozuna. Even though he's a piece of shit, he's a good hitter. The Phillies have Kyle Schwarber. Those are teams that you're going to be competing with. You have other teams in the other league. Giancarlo Stanton, who always shows out in the playoffs. He's a DH for the Yankees.
Kyle Tucker
Jordan
DH'd yesterday.
Is a great DH. Tucker DH'd. The Cubs, they might be in the playoffs this year. Who knows?
Oh, they will be.
Oh, they will be at the rate that they're going. And we have this. A $20 million DH. And in terms of value, from what you're getting at him, what you're asking from him, this is worse than a situation of Vogelbach and Ruff. Because Vogelbach and Ruff, right, they were making a combined $4 million.
Yeah, that's true.
Marte is getting $20 million to be a glorified cheerleader at this current moment because he's not contributing anything else. This is brutal to watch. And I knew that it was going to be brutal to watch. We said it. People told us to shut up because of his batting average against left-handed pitching, which even though it was only 34 plate appearances last year because it was banged up the whole fucking year. And they talk about his career and they talk about how good how good Unk is. But again, this is not the same Starling Marte from 2022. He is banged up. Cut the losses. I'm done. I don't even care if you don't have a DH at this point with Winker out. This cannot continue, especially with batting behind Alonso. Alonso's not going to get any pitches to hit now with this guy batting fourth. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, going into the season, they talked about this potential platoon of Winker and Marte. And for Marte's part of it, he was supposed to face the left-handed pitchers. And so far this season, Marte has reverse splits. He's actually been worse against left-handers. So the one thing that they were like, oh, well, don't worry, he's going to be like facing left-handers this season, so we're going to get the most out of him. Well, like I said, he's doing worse against the lefties. So that does not help. But like you said, now that Winker's on the injured list, you're going to be seeing more of Marte. And like I mentioned earlier, but when Winker went down, their solution was to call up Brett Beatty. So Brett Beatty is not going to be DHing. At least he shouldn't be in this lineup under any circumstances, because he gives, if you think Marte is bad offensively, somehow Beatty's even worse. So, that's just kind of the situation that they're in. It's like you're picking between two players who have been really, really bad offensively. But one of the only other thing I could possibly think of is not quite this, but Torrens has been a better offensive player than Marte in like every category. I would be okay with starting Torrens at catcher and making Alvarez the DH for now. I'd be totally fine with that, because
switch him in and out.
Because it's not Marte in the lineup, it's not Beatty in the lineup. There's nothing to do with Jeff McNeil. So, that's something that I think, just with the way they're set up, that's probably your best option as far as getting the most offense from the DH position. Like I said, it won't be Marte, it won't be Beatty. I think Torrens is the guy that needs to get back in the lineup, put him at catcher, let Alvarez DH, and even though Alvarez is not a power hitter anymore, they want him to go the other way, at least he's still hitting above 300 for now.
Yeah.
So it's compared to Marte hitting 188? There's a pretty big disparity there. And like you said, it's not just the results, which have been bad. The expected numbers are bad, but it's more so the process. So like we said, is that if Marte is hitting for a low average, not giving you power, which ideally a designated hitter is a power hitter, but Marte is not a power hitter. So
not the Mets, not the Mets designated
not
hitters.
The Mets DHs,
they're high floor contact hitters all the way.
Yeah, so it's like he's not giving you singles, he's not giving you power, he doesn't give you the speed that he used to anymore. He's not hitting lefties like the way he's supposed to. So it's like he's not doing any of that stuff. So it's like, I mean, what is it that you want this guy to actually do for you offensively? And he's not doing himself any favors, to your point, when he has those at-bats where you have men on base and he's just up there looking at strikes right down the middle, fastballs right over the plate, just looking at him with men on base, with two strikes. I mean, he's just not doing any of that. So, I mean, when you combine all of that, it's just been a really tough go for us. It's very frustrating to watch. And earlier in the season, I don't know if it was like last stream or two streams ago, he had like pretty good numbers with runners at scoring position. I said he was hitting like a little over 300. That's now down to 267. So that's probably just going to keep going down.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that to hang on his hat anymore. Like you said, now they're batting him cleanup. His numbers show that he's not been good at cleanup. His one spot he's been good at in the select few games he's played, very, very small sample size, is batting sixth. That's where he's had some success. But even then, it's like we've talked about, you don't want to bat Nemo cleanup. You don't want to bat Marte cleanup. Someone mentioned before that like they might, Mila mentioned it, that like maybe have to put Vientos fourth, even though he's not been great this season. It's your best shot because it's like at least he has some power. So it's like maybe teams fear him just like slightly more than Marte, maybe. But it's just, the way they're set up right now with everyone else, like I said, between Winker being injured, there not being a lot of major league ready solutions in the minor leagues. They're kind of stuck with him right now. So it's like Marte was already struggling to begin with, and we were already having this conversation before. But now that Winker's down, like it's just gotten way worse. So they're just in a really tough spot right now.
Yeah, it really is just like gated them into a way. I mean, we already know that they were attached to Teoscar Hernandez in the offseason. We know that they were attached to Jock Peterson, who's been one of the worst hitters in all of baseball. Come back, Jock. Just come back. We know you're good. Just come back for us. Make me happy again. But I think this is something that's going to have to be addressed at the deadline at this point. with Winker as banged up as he is, they're going to need to get a right-handed bat in here. It's going to have to happen, or they're going to have to just get some bat that can be a DH, because I'm so tired of having this discussion over and over and over again since the Mets have come into, having the designated hitter. Since the designated hitter was implemented into the National League, the Mets have made a joke of this position. They really have. And for some reason, they just think it's okay to have a hitter who doesn't hit. That doesn't make any sense. Like, as for positional value, a DH is supposed to be a power hitter at this point, because what else are they going to provide you? Like, what is a DH going to provide you? Just hitting singles. Not to mention JD Martinez. Like, we thought we had that. It was 1 month. 1 month of JD Martinez. That was it. And then he was just back to being old. That was it. He was just old. He was dead.
And now he's unemployed.
Now he's unemployed. Because, that's what the Mets do to careers. But I think that this could have been addressed better. There's a guy in LA right now playing for the Angels that I hope the Angels continue to slip, that they can go for at the deadline. I've been begging for him for years. It's not, I don't know if it's going to end up happening, but they're going to have to address this, because this
have a bit of
is not okay.
Contract on him?
I don't think so. He has only 1 year left. I'm pretty sure that's
why.
Right?
I think that, he has 1 year left, but I think
year.
that's why the Braves also moved on from him. Was they're like, oh, this is not enough money. We're just gonna let that go.
Hey, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to bringing it in. But again, I just, the designated hitter, just even in simple context, it's the fact that they don't hit. Like, this is just ridiculous. And then the fact that you have all these other guys in this lineup struggling, but you also have the fact that Marte, not only is he in the diminished role, but they're basically glorifying this diminished role of putting this guy clean up. Like, again, we talked about it earlier. We said it earlier. Nothing shows that Starling Marte should be batting cleanup for no reason at all. And I understand that the lineup behind Pete Alonso has not been good, but come on, you're going to tell me Starling Marte is your best bet? Starling Marte is the best bet. I just feel like if we were to make a decision here, it has to start with Starling Marte. It has to. Because what he is making at this current moment, it basically held them back from this lineup getting better. It has. It's just true. And I've been saying it. We are in store for a nightmare season for Starling Marte. And again, all these excuses of well, he has these good numbers in here, and he's a good situational guy through his career. Well, guess what? I mean, Marte, people tell me it's like, well, he's going to be able to stay healthy at DH. He'll be able to stay healthy as a DH. We seeing a difference? We really seeing a difference? 3 stolen bases right now. Yip-de-doo. He's on pace for a 7-7 season. Yay. And will he get on base enough to do it? No. So I don't know how many things people need in order to see that this guy is just not it anymore. It's time to cut their losses. End it. End it off. End it. He looks like the same player that was bobbling balls in right field yet last year. I don't understand why he's at cleanup. I don't understand why he's batting 5th. I don't even understand him batting 6th sometimes, even though you said he was hitting well at 6th. It's just it's a awful representation of this position. It's awful. Not only is he not able to be a contact hitter, a designated contact hitter, he can't hit. He can't hit. He's not good anymore. He's had a few duck fart singles, one that walked off the Phillies. He had one after looking at 3 pitches in like the 9th inning against, but it's like, this is encouraging? No, it's not. It's not. Like, just, can we cut the bullshit, please? This isn't a designated hitter. This is crap. I mean, I'm not trying to say it's in Darren Ruff territory, but for what he's making, this is bad. This ain't it. And it's not like, oh, it's just a rough start. This is how it's been for this past 3 seasons. He has not been the same since that double groin surgery. And I hate saying this deep down because Starling Marte was one of my favorite players when he came into the league. But Father Time is caught up. Move on. Enough already. Stop with this. This is nonsense. It's embarrassing, especially when I said compared to all these other teams with the DHs they have, and this is what we're amounted to. This is the worst guy that I want to be the DH, and he's the DH. I'd rather have Jeff McNeil as the DH. That's how bad this is. Because I know Jeff McNeil will at least get me a hit once in a while or do something and not chase it pitches in the other batter's box. I know we're comparing piss to shit here.
He also won't look at 3 straight pitches down the middle. I mean, Jeff is aggressive.
No, he'll just pound him into the ground and slam his helmet.
At least he'll swing the bat, and whatever happens when he swings it, we'll see. But I think the thing that also is kind of frustrating is that even when Winker was healthy, he has 1 home run this season. So Marte's 2 home runs is more than Winker. So it's like we're saying is that generally speaking, a DH should be a power hitter. But even the DH that the Mets paid $7.5 million for in Winker this season, when we're having Marte on the books, he's not hitting for power either, and he's never really been a prolific power hitter. He's been more so of an on-base percentage guy, which is what he's been this season, 321 OBP.
He at least gives you competitive ABs.
Gives you competitive ABs, but still, it's like again with a DH, like that's not what they're traditionally supposed to do.
It isn't, but he's a plus bat. That's what I look at. It's like, okay, he's a plus bat. I don't expect Jesse Winker to set the world on fire. Even though he plays
only when he played against the Mets, not for them.
Yeah, only when he plays against the Mets, then he's fucking Pat Burrell. But again, when he comes over here, you know, he's a solid plus bat that is a competitive bat that can deepen the lineup. And he should not be batting 4th, but considering so many guys in this lineup has been bad, you know, lower middle of the lineup, batting 6th, batting 7th, that is fine as a designated hitter. Also, the fact that he's not making $20 million. This is just not a good way that this roster has been allocated to Starling Marte. And it's holding this team back from being even better, from accruing even more talent. This is just not a good way to distribute the designated hitter. This is not a way to distribute $20 million. A better way of distributing $20 million is just paying the guy to go away at this moment, because he's hurting them more than helping them. And this is the thing. It's like, this is my only thought at this point. It's like, is it just because the clubhouse loves him so much? Because like, if that's the deal, then we've got an even bigger problem here. If that's what they can't withstand, him going away. Because that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. It's just, I don't understand what the meaning of this is.
And Soto has like a 15-year contract, so Marte so far does not have a 14-year extension waiting.
When that contract is done, Marte's going to be 50.
Yeah. So
by math, 50, 51. I mean, come on. Like, Unc don't got it no more. He don't got it. I just, I don't get this. What did they see? What exactly do they see here? Because I'm not seeing it. I don't see what we are seeing as a DH threat. Because even if you want to fill in the little spaces of what he is good at, it still ain't worth $20 million. I don't know. I don't get their direction with this. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's embarrassing to see this amplified in the cleanup spot behind Pete Alonso, who needs pitches to hit, who is on fire right now. I don't understand why this is continuing to be a thing. Because if you're going to DH him, don't put him fourth. Don't put him fifth, sixth. Put him ninth. I don't even like. I do. This is so. It's so aggravating to watch. This team has so many resources now that we should not be amounted to this. Of watching the corpse of Starling Marte attempt to be a designated hitter at 36 years old. He's not David Ortiz. Okay? David Ortiz was an ageless bat. He's not Joey Votto who could DH. This is Starling Marte. Or what is left of him. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add on this conversation. It's just exactly as bad as I thought it would be. And perhaps even worse.
Yeah, I don't really see them doing anything yet. I mean, that's the thing that's frustrating is, like I said, until Gilbert's ready, maybe Mauricio is ready, maybe, but I mean, like we said, it's gotten to this point now where despite his struggles, he's still DHing, he's still hitting cleanup. So if this hasn't been bad enough for them to take action already, I don't see why they will now. Like, I feel like they'll just kind of keep letting it go, and we have to live with it, unfortunately. I really think that's the situation that we're in.
Yeah. Anyways, Game 4 saying Marte isn't 50 now. Yeah, he could have fooled us. I'm not going to lie. Carlos Ramos saying the corpse of Starling Marte. You got to get this to trend on Twitter. Yeah, go ahead. Telling me who sent you. It's just I just think that this is just a massive liability, and then for everything that follows in that lineup or whatever, it's also just like the fact of laziness too that I'm seeing. It's just that's it's just the fact of laziness of just like how it's just that lackadaisical stuff coming from the oldest guy on the team right now. This is the oldest guy on the team. And again, some say that, leadership isn't everything and impressionism is like I don't want to see that. I don't want that around a guy like Luis Angel Acuna, who we've already had concerns about being bored. So I don't want that around the young guys. I don't want it. It's just, this is beyond done. They have sucked the thing dry. This is all they do. They wring things out until there's nothing left. And they make us bite our nails until, like, you remember how long they made us wait for them to non-tender Daniel Vogelbach? They just keep going, they just keep wringing everything out until there's nothing left.
Well, we knew there was like some stuff going up top that like Vogelbach had to play, like with the whole Epler, and
obviously,
like disagreements. So it was a little bit of a different situation. And again, it's like Stearns did not sign Marte to this contract, and honestly, I don't think he would have if he was in charge, because it's not really a Stearns thing to give a old man to play center field a 4-year deal and everything like that. So it's like he didn't sign him, so he doesn't need to have this like super strong alliance with him and so much rope. Like, oh no, Marte is my guy. Like, I got to give him like so many opportunities. Like, he has no attachment to him, so he doesn't need to hang on to him so long.
Yeah, I don't know. Game 4 is saying you don't need to worry about a single rookie. I mean, this is not what I'm not talking about hitting advice. What I'm talking about is just the overall cadence of a ball player.
Yeah,
like just the overall
like
effort, the overall motivation. The stuff that can be helped and enforced by a guy like Jose Iglesias. How he helped those young guys, being a mentor for them as those types of players. It has nothing to do with, the production or whatever, or helping guys with this production or everything. I'm just talking about it like, not having your head up to your ass, which has been a problem. It has been a problem. So much to be happy about. And we're stuck with Marte. Yeah, kinda, because we saw him stare at 3 strikes down the middle with the bases loaded. So that wasn't fun, and that kind of prevented us from getting a little bit more runs in that second game. So it all adds together. Carlos saying, I agree, Carson. I absolutely agree. But what are the options? Alvarez at DH, Nimmo at DH. But does that mean more McNeil in left field? Again, I don't like the way that they have to switch things around to keep like guys like McNeil in the lineup, and at this point keep Marte in the lineup because they don't have Jesse Winker here. I mean, there's tons of different combinations you can try here. Could you have a point where it's like, okay, Alvarez catches 4 out of the 5 days and Terens is the DH for those 4 days, and then when Terens catches, like they rotate in and out between catcher and DH, maybe, because both of their bats have been effective. We know what Alvarez can give you with the bat. Still hasn't proven it fully, but we know what he can give you. And then Terens has been good offensively as well, especially situationally. So it's a designated hitter. Again, that's kind of just filling in the holes here. But at the end of the day, I mean, when it comes to this DH position, they're going to have somebody who can give you remotely some power. Because there's only so much a DH can give you in value to open up these gaps. Because, like, Nimmo can be an extra bat. Alvarez could be an extra bat. Something, like if there's a hot hitter, you can put him in there. I don't want to say Tyrone Taylor because we need him in center field. But, it's more of just like the ride the hot hand stuff, the in and out stuff. I'm looking to see more of a structure here in this lineup. And things like Starling Marte, who's been awful at the DH position, Winker, who's not a world beater at the DH position. It's another example of them just having a different lineup every day and having this different type of thing where it's just not consistent. And you're not going to get any of that consistency. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we haven't really seen a consistent lineup. It's just always something different, but it's still a lot of times the same guys, just like in a different order, has been the thing too. Yeah,
it's just I feel like we're always going 1 step forward and then 2 steps back because there's always somebody else that they can fill in. Because I don't want to look at the lineup tomorrow and see Beatty batting 5th and DHing. Like I don't want to see that. And to be honest, I wouldn't put it past them because there's a new lineup every single day. It's all I feel like we're going into like the bingo balls where we're let's call this name. Like it's just I don't want to see this every single time. And is it possible that maybe they're setting this stuff up for July? I don't know what July insinuates, but it's just give me something here. Like the 1, 2, 3 has been consistent the whole time. Great. Everything else, we knew that was going to be that.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. But everything else, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why do I have to cross my fingers for this guy to not be in the lineup the next day? Shouldn't be like that. I don't know who's going up with it. Is it Mendoza? Is the guys up top there? But I just don't understand it. I really don't. And it's showing on the field of the consistency, like we've said. Starling Marte is one of those components. Now, speaking of the batting order, we did ask you guys in the poll here of who should bat 4th behind Alonso. 29% of you are saying Nimmo. 33% of you are saying Vientos, 29% of you are saying Alvarez, and 10% of you are saying other. So it's definitely balanced out there. Like I think people are kind of just going at the crapshoot right now.
Alvarez, with how much people have complained about him. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, he's batting 300. He has the best batting average out of the 3 of them. So
it's true.
I mean, that got to count for something, But I'm wondering what the other is. But again, it's more of just like the rest of the lineup just has not been consistent enough to pick somebody out of it. So I don't know. John Singleton, we giving him the call from AAA? You want to talk about 4A players right there. Before there was Brett Beatty, there was John Singleton. All right? For those of you who don't know, John Singleton, that was a man who used to kick it in the old days with Stearns and Gross back there in Houston. All right? That was before there was Brett Beatty. That's a 4A player right now. So if we're going to those extremes now, that's going to get bad. Yeah. It's going to get bad. We're going to bring back Abraham Almonte. I mean, this is where it's getting into. Yikes. I don't know. Odd, very odd.
They chose Monte over Canario.
But again,
can't believe it.
I can't believe it. Anyways, which, I mean, we all expect it to happen.
Yeah.
How has Canario been before we continue?
I mean,
has he done well for
manager
Pittsburgh?
Just got fired,
I know Pittsburgh's.
So, like.
Yeah, I know Pittsburgh's been a mess. Yeah, he has an 11 weighted runs created plus. He has a negative 0.5 wins above replacement. So I'm guessing that those habits of swings and misses are showing for a guy like Canario. So for those of you who already
spring training wasn't
a fantastic spring training that doesn't translate. No. Yeah, he's actually hitting the ball pretty well. Tools are there. Maybe we'll get him back at the deadline. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, but they need to package him with a Pittsburgh starting pitcher, and then
that'd be
we'll
sick.
be in good shape.
Mitch Keller on the way.
Or one of these days they can actually just save Brian Reynolds from just what he's been through his career. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Or save Paul Skeens.
Yeah, before it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, hey Pittsburgh, I heard he's regressing a lot. So. You know, they'll probably listen to anybody but the actual baseball minds at this point, because firing Derek Sheldon, who they just fired, by the way, that ain't the problem. Just saying, that ain't the problem whatsoever. But this ain't a Pirate stream.
Think of what Skeens is even worth, though. Like,
oh yeah, he's probably worth a fortune.
Yeah, they wouldn't pay it though. So it's like we've talked about. If you're not going to pay it, you got to trade.
You're probably talking about a close to Soto return right there.
Yeah, I mean,
even for somebody who pitches every 5 days, that's how ridiculous he is.
Yeah, no, at that age, like, he's got a lot.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, it'll be a topic another day, but it's interesting to.
We do have Pittsburgh coming up, so
that's right, our next year. So we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it eventually. I think Clay Holmes will be lined up to face his old team back from when he was a starter back there. So
and then he's got his other former team after that. So.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to be lined up for that,
but both, though,
yeah, probably not. We have some better fish to fry there with the best pitcher in all of baseball, Tyler McGill, I think, is lined up for the first game there. But other than that, not enough of the Pirates talk, because this is a Mets stream. Studs and Duds, everybody's favorite segment. One player that was good in this series, we want to give some flowers to. One that was not, we want to hold accountable. And we'll move on to bigger and brighter things. Said with a smile. Anyways, Frank, I'll give you your stud for the week. What do you got?
Yeah, give me Huskar Brosman. I mean, I feel like he just had a really solid series. You know, game one, he comes in, gives him the 2 scoreless innings, and then Nunez and Garrett almost blew it. But then, you know, yesterday he has to come in. Max Kranick, first inning good, second inning not so good. Brosman comes in, cleans it up, and gets us, you know, to move on. So he's had a really solid season. There were like a couple ugly outings earlier on in Washington, which I just feel like the whole bullpen was just bad in Washington at this point. But other than that, I mean, he's had a solid year, especially considering how he was last year for the Mets. So this turned out so far to be a pretty good trade that they made with the Marlins last season.
Yeah, I think we just have to establish that just no bullpen arm will ever do good in Washington. I think that's it. I think that's it. That for some reason it's just a haunting situation for anybody.
It really is becoming that way. I mean,
I don't get it.
It's like once a year at this point now with the bullpen in Washington. Like, it's
kinda
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Why is this a house of horrors? Who knows? We'll never know. Nobody will ever know.
So we'll never be able to avoid it.
Even Pittsburgh has been a house of horrors. They've had a lot of bullpen blowups there. So, but even though I'm pretty sure this one is at Citi Field. So,
it is.
Anyways, I mean, who else? What can make me feel this way? Francisco Lindor. What a series by him. I mean, he had 2 doubles yesterday, an RBI double. It was like in the 9th. The 3-run homer in the first game as well that ended up being very big with the blow up from Danel Nunez. And then that ridiculous tag at the end of the game, which, I mean, this guy is just a special player. I mean, you can't deny that this guy, from any certain circumstance, just contributes on the field and just lays it all out for it. I mean, like, literally, if you have a star on your team, a guy like Francisco Lindor is what you want. Like, he will do everything. He will put his body on the line. He will run out ground balls. He will do anything. That's the type of guy that you want leading the charge, and that's what he's helped do. along with Pete Alonso in this lineup. Pete actually had a few rough games in this series, but again, it was picked up. Francisco Lindor again. If at this point, I mean, this is something that I really don't care about, and to be honest, I don't even want him to play in it. But I think we're pretty much clinching. At this point, we've clinched at the rate where we're going that Francisco Lindor will be an All-Star, right? And at this rate,
I hope so.
will it happen?
As long as he doesn't have like his usual April in like June or something, as long as he doesn't have like this a crazy slump anywhere, but he has this his best shot at it because he didn't have like a horrible April. So this is his best shot at it.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, he's starting off great. All right. Speaking of not great, how about duds? Frank?
Yeah, there's a few to choose from. I have like 3 guys on here, and I'm trying to decide between them. But I'll give the guy who's had the worst season and we already did a whole segment about him. So it has to be. Oh, well, I see a 4th guy actually, but we'll go with Marte. You know, as far as batting cleanup, a DH, big at bats, men on, can't come through. You know, there's some other guys I'm curious who you're going to pick, but there's like a core 4 here, and 3 of them played yesterday that are just tough to watch offensively a lot of times.
Yeah, I really it went by in a blur personally yesterday offensively because I wasn't home for a majority of the game. So I'm gonna
you were
go
lucky you
and
missed the beginning because the beginning of the game was just.
Oh no. The beginning I saw.
To the 6th inning.
The beginning I saw.
You saw the.
I saw the first 3.5 innings. I think around there. Yeah. The beginning I saw, and then they started hitting when I left the house. So I guess I have to just leave the house. I gotta sit in my my tree house. I don't know, for them to hit. I don't know. But I think I gotta go with Nunez because we were expecting him to be a piece to this bullpen and be somebody who can step up. I even said it with Minter going down, he was definitely going to be an important piece, and then just to have all of that erased completely of a very concerning outing where he just could not get the ball over the plate. 3 batters, 3 walks, put them in a predicament where maybe they possibly could have lost that game. But Reed Garrett was able to hold on there. It was just not a great performance. Some of the other hitters that you did mention, if you want to put them out there, you're muted. So I guess you can't put them out there at the moment.
Weapon?
Yep. You're good now. Now you can put them out there. There you go.
Alrighty. So first up, we have a squirrel. We got Jeff McNeil. We got
he had triple.
Yeah,
he had the triple
after they already won it. So, but other than that, he was hitless.
He also squirrels.
He also squirrels.
He looks like a squirrel.
He got hurt in the triple he got, so that was great. Speaking of getting hurt while playing, Brandon Nimmo. I mean, he had 1 hit, game 3, but in that series was brutal. Then Mr. Ground Ball, Brett Beatty. So we should just call him like the groundhog because he just lives in the ground. So that's my nickname.
Oh, I got plenty of nicknames for him. Some of them I can't say on air, but
of course not.
Yeah.
Or maybe the Exterminator. I think that's more of his nickname is the Exterminator. He takes out all the bugs on the ground.
The one that we've said is the most popular is Captain Grapefruit because of the Grapefruit League of how good he is. That is one. Yeah, some of these other ones I can't say on stream.
Don't say the rest. Don't say that.
If Man is another one.
If Man. Okay.
Yeah, because again, he's a guy that had all this potential. Doesn't show it whatsoever. He's constantly If Man. He's got plenty of nicknames. He's like Shaq at this point. But yeah, some of them I can't say on stream because we would get demonetized. Anyways, moving on to better and greater things. Let's move on to this series with the Chicago Cubs. Now, the Cubs, off the bat, before we even get into these pitching matchups, this offense has been on fire. They have been dominant, one of the best, if not the best in all of baseball. I mean, they've been really, really good, especially one of the best in the National League.
The Dodgers, actually.
They are up there with the Dodgers. A 120 weighted runs created plus this entire team. I'm pretty sure they're up there in home runs too. Like they have 55 as a team as well, and they also steal a lot of bases too. They're first in stolen bases. So this can be a...
And you know who's leading that.
Yeah. We all know about our old friend, or lack thereof friend, that was traded away by the great Zach Scott, who is a little too vocal these days.
He must have been drinking while he did that, too.
Yeah, he may have been. Brief fans saying the new Pope is a Cubs fan. We're screwed. But he also went to Villanova, so maybe it's the Knicks year. So that's the way to balance it out, I guess. He went to Villanova, and he's from Chicago. So there you go. It took them... never mind. Okay. Yeah, so the Mets offense is ranked 6th overall right now in overall production with a 114 weighted runs created plus. Most of that is coming from the top of the lineup. We all know. And then Chicago is higher, which is 120 as a team at 4th right now in the league. And they are 2nd in the National League in runs scored, I think, right? First in the National League in runs scored. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
The Cubs, they have a lot of stats. So they're 3rd in home runs, so 2nd in the National League. 1st in runs driven in, 1st in hits, 1st in stolen bases. So they generate offense.
That's a lot. Okay. Sick. This should be
the Mets
quite
have the best earned run
the pain in the
average,
ass.
so it's technically like one of those best pitching versus best hitting kind of matchups.
Yeah, so
like in football, it's like the best offense versus the best defense. Like it's supposed to be something like that.
Exactly. It's
and
like,
there's a 12 o'clock Roku game, so that will be a ton of offense because we love 12 o'clock Roku games on Sunday.
I actually have Roku, so I'll be okay with that. But yeah, this is a power Cubs offense. But as for these pitching matchups, let's pop them up on the screen real quick for you guys. Game 1, we'll start off with Clay Holmes on the mound, looking to continue his great beginning to his tenure as a starting pitcher. He will go up against veteran right-hander Jameson Taillon, former Yankees, battling it out. Were they teammates? They probably were for like a year or two. I don't know.
Maybe. It would have been close.
Maybe they overlapped. I don't know. First pitch, 7:10 Eastern on SNY. The only game on SNY that we'll get to hear Gary, Keith, and Ron. But I know that the Roku game, Game 3, Gary is going to be doing it with who's the
did they say it was
Girardi?
It might have been Girardi.
Yeah, Joe Girardi is so he's no longer a manager for the Phillies because we all know how that worked out. Game 2, Tyler McGill will look to bounce back from a rough outing in St. Louis. He will face Cubs top pitching prospect Cade Horton, who will be making his major league debut. First pitch will be at 7:15 p.m. on Fox. Would love to hear from John Smoltz because, he's my favorite person known to man to listen to. And then, of course, Game 3, like we said, on Roku, 12:05 starting time. It was originally, I think, at 11 a.m., but they moved it before the
also
scheduling came
Day,
out.
So keep that in mind.
Yes, also Mother's Day as well. And speaking of mothers, that mother, Griffin Canning, will take the mound against veteran lefty Matthew Boyd, who is off to a great start this year. And like we said, 12:05 on Roku, which is a free streaming service application on your TV. I think you just need to make an account or something. I'm sure people on the internet will figure it out and leak some information of how to watch the game. So yes, Joe Girardi will be in the booth with Gary Cohen, which is fine. But at least we get to hear Gary Cohen. That's good. It's for the 2 of the games. And then Fox, it's going to be a rough one, obviously, with hearing.
It's always a rough one on Fox.
It's always a rough one hearing John Smoltz.
Smoltz, so like no matter what, like you're just kind of or Brzezinski, like no matter what, you're just getting someone that is like anti-Mets.
I don't even know if it's just anti-Mets. They're just not interesting. Like they're just not interesting to listen to. It's like they just drone on and on about the same things. They're just saying them in different mannerisms. It's like, shut up, dude. Like, just stop talking. But some other notes if you want to add here, because this Cubs team is off to a great start.
Yeah, it's like where do you start? I mean, because you have just so many guys that are having these phenomenal seasons. I mean, we'll start off with the guy named Carson Kelly, their catcher, batting 348, 1,261 OPS, like out of nowhere. Was not this amazing offensive catcher, but this year's off to a great start. Their young first baseman, Michael Busch, great season. Dansby Swanson, former Brave, we know him very well. He got off to a slow start. They moved him down to the bottom third of the order. He's starting to play a little better, so we'll see like which version of Dansby we get. Probably because against the Mets, he'll just be his former Brave stuff. What happened?
Oh, I just saw who's in there. I just saw who's on this team.
On the Cubs?
Oh, God. Here we go
yeah,
again.
You see him, right? The number 9 hitter, right?
Oh, yeah.
John Birdie, another Met killer. He's got 7 stolen bases this season. And then Pico Armstrong, former Met, he's got 12 stolen bases this season. So you really got to watch out for you guys. Even Kyle Tucker has swiped 10 bases and has not been caught stealing. So he's been very opportunistic and having a phenomenal start to the season, trying to play for a $500 million contract. Seiya Suzuki, he's got off to a good start. I mean, Ian Happ's always solid. Like, they just have a lot. Like, that's how you get the top offense in the league. Like, you have so many different guys contributing. And that's what this Cubs team has right now offensively.
Yeah, as this guy with power tools trying to, saw down an entire house outside my window. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. And I could barely hear you there. But anyways, we know that there's a lot of talent on this team. I didn't realize that Justin Turner, former Met as well, is on their bench.
He's been horrible.
He's been horrendous?
Okay. So bad. I mean, he's on the best reason. He's batting.
Vidal Brujan was a former prospect.
Yeah, he's
former
batting
prospect with the Rays.
170. 440 OPS,
Yikes.
29 OPS plus. He's actually worse than Marte.
What happened to Pop-Tart?
Like, he's 40. It was bound to happen one of these years, and that's why, like, every time the Mets were linked to him, I was like, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. And now this year, it finally happened. Like, he just
turns into Justin Turner with the Mets. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's had quite a career. Can't say he hasn't. But, I'm pretty sure they had an injury, right, to their pitching staff, obviously with Cade Horton coming up. But they had one injury. Was it Imanaga got hurt, right?
Yeah, and he was the ace. I mean, so that was
Imanaga is really good.
But don't forget, they lost Justin Steele at the beginning of the season.
They did.
He's out for the year, so they're making up for that. A couple other things with the Cubs. Matthew Boyd's been a great story because here's someone who was good, then he had struggles, injuries. He's having to bounce back. But one of the things that happened in this most recent series for the Cubs, they faced the Giants. And the Giants, I think it was like game 2, scored 14 runs. Ryan Presley, their closer, gave up 8 runs and didn't record a single out. So they got some things to figure out in that bullpen. As great as the offense has been, like we mentioned, all these guys stepping up, their record is still worse than the Mets. So even though they have this great offense, they're not a perfect team. So I mean, that's something to also think about.
So the bullpen has been just as big of a mess as it's been the last few years for them. Because I'm seeing some guys in here who have been a mess recently in their careers. Julian Merriweather. I know that he had a rough stretch when he was in Toronto. He was claimed off of Toronto's waivers. Our old pal Chris Flexen is in their bullpen currently. That's a name from the past. Ryan Presley. That was another thing where when it came to him, when they traded him, I was like, you do realize he has not really been that good recently. I was really surprised with that. He's just been regressing a lot. Obviously, he was one of the best when he was with the Houston, but not really. But I guess the Kyle Tucker side of things that they got from the Astros has definitely worked out for them. They got dangerous hitters in this lineup. Let's just say that. Pete Crow Armstrong, we know that he's going to be looking for some revenge, even though the guy that traded him is not even with the organization anymore. He's probably day drinking as we speak. And it looks like right now, the Cubs are the only team that are going to be coming out of that Central. Like, to be honest, I really would not be surprised at the rate that we're going that 4 teams come out of that West division.
NL West, they have to.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, unless the Braves like eventually turn it on, which I feel like they will. It's going to be a majority of the National League West because it's not going to be the Central. I mean, you have like the Cubs
with how the Phillies have been playing. I mean, I still think that they're going to probably make the playoffs, but they're on a teeter totter right now. It hasn't been smooth sailing for them.
No, they haven't been phenomenal considering the talent they have. But we'll see. Still early.
Yeah. We'll see. But I think going into this series, we know that this is a good Cubs offense. They got to get to that bullpen, of course, because, again, like we said, it's been a struggle for them. who knows what happens in that department, to be honest, because we said that about the Nationals bullpen and they couldn't score a single run for them against them for 3 games. And then they finally exploded over them in the final game, scoring like 19 runs. So who knows? The numbers are not telling the whole story. Who knows who has it and who doesn't? You're not playing in the windy Wrigley environment. You are at Citi Field. So maybe their offense production gets cut down a little bit. Probably not. Who knows? But there's going to be some bats in this lineup that they're going to have to keep in check in order to keep themselves in this game. And then situational hitting. Be better. Just better. Like better. Please. Please be better. That's all I ask. Don't rely on everybody to... Don't rely on one guy to bail you out every single time. Somebody from the bottom part of that lineup is going to have to do something because, again, they need to get some consistency outside of that top 3. Even though Juan Soto is heating up, Pete Alonso's been great. We know what Lindor can do from that leadoff spot. Again, it's just there's got to be something better. And that Cubs bullpen looks like they are bottom 10 in pretty much every single category besides home runs, which is kind of weird playing in Wrigley. Odd. Very odd. But again, going into this series, some closing thoughts that we want to put out before I swing it over to you, Frank. Shout out to those Knicks, by the way. Obviously, this isn't a Met show, but you know it's fuck Boston no matter what. It always is. It's fuck Boston. Whenever you beat Boston, that's awesome. Shout out to them. Hopefully they can keep it going. But you know. It's been great to watch them go into Boston and just steal 2 games there and just stun the world and come back from 20-point leads. Either way, back to baseball. Frank, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, no, they haven't won the series yet. I mean, hopefully they do because it would be quite a story. But, you know, I mean, one thing's to remember on May 8th, in 2018, the first Irish-born player since 1945 made their debut for the Mets. It was P.J. Conlon. So we remember him very well. So today is PJ Conlon Day, May 8th. So
didn't he have like 2 doubles in that game too at the plate?
Yeah, that's what pitchers used to hit. So they used to have weird things that would happen, but not anymore. Which like we joked about it before, but again, with the way Marte's been playing more and more, the pitcher's hitting for the DH position. It's not the worst idea in the world right now. But,
unfortunately, we missed that generation of our good hitting catchers, or good hitting pitchers, which was DeGrom was good. Harvey was good before he got injured. Syndergaard was great. Matz was a great hitting pitcher for some reason. Even Bart had a few moments.
He hit a home run?
He hit home run. I'm pretty sure that's the anniversary,
the anniversary
right?
was like just this week, too.
Yeah.
That would have been a better one, but yeah.
That still is just an envisioned moment. You're like, how the fuck did that happen? Anyways.
He still had the bat with him going to first base. He's like, oh, yeah, I have to drop the bat now. Because he always carried it with him, but he dropped that so late when he was rounding the bases.
Yeah, speaking of, for those of you who are on Twitter, that Bartolo Colon account, is that him? Is that actually him?
I haven't seen it. I'm not sure.
I have no idea. But if it is, hats off to him. And also, speaking of Twitter accounts, our old shortstop, our old all-time shortstop, before Francisco Lindor took over, Jose Reyes had a tweet out saying that they should play Acuna every day. So he's on that, and then he deleted it like 4 minutes later. But it's on my Twitter if anybody wants to see it. But even Mets legends know that Jeff McNeil is running out of gas. So that's all he can say. I mean, even though I think that he can definitely relate to a player like Acuna, we know what type of player that Reyes was, of course, in his younger days as well. So I don't know, maybe the rebrand of Triples Alley that they had for Reyes and then he ended up leaving anyway. Maybe Acuna can start to take advantage of that. Obviously, he's not a switch hitter. But it looks like from what we're seeing here, other than that, Brief fans saying greetings from Ireland. Awesome. From Ireland. Cool.
There
so
you go.
that PJ Conlon fact really hit home there. But he was born in Queens.
The reverse journey.
Made the reverse journey. Okay.
Very
Interesting.
cool.
Well, I don't know what time it is in Ireland right now, but I'm glad that you're tuning into us live as of right now. But as for everybody else in here as well, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok, which mainly feature Frank's post-game reactions following every single Mets regular season game. Follow all of us individually, including our third Mike Andrew, who is usually here in seldom attendance. And also, of course, after going, getting revenge on Arizona, let's carry it over to our home ballpark, which they've played very well in so far, against this very good Cubs offense. So we'll see how they do there. Pitching is definitely going to have quite a test. And yeah, let's go Mets. And we will see you guys next time.